This is the YouTube channel trying to focus on Clojure. Today we have Zack Teo. Hi Zack.
Yeah. Hi, Guru.
Hi. Can you do a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah. My name is Zachary, but short for Zach. I am currently a final year university student in Singapore, specifically in SUTD, which stands for Singapore University of Technology and Design. What else? Yeah. I'll be graduating soon, and I've been trying my best to see how I can get to start my first job working in Clojure.
Yeah, thanks. Where should we start? Can you sort of go over how you got into Clojure, and maybe start there.
Right. I would say that my journey into Clojure is like a slow descent into several rabbit holes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like I'm not sure if this is the most conventional of routes, but I went from like as I tried to get deeper into programming, like I eventually delved into Linux, and from Linux I went into Emacs.
Nice.
And and after slowly trying to getting into Emacs, I eventually learned about Clojure along the way. I think when I first really along the way when I learned about Clojure, I think because a lot of the Clojure community, a lot of the Emacs community are also Clojure users, as in there's a certain intersection. So I learned about Clojure at some point, but the point when I really learned about Clojure was during one of my close to one of my internships. One of my colleagues was talking about tree shaking in JavaScript and dead code elimination, and somehow coincidentally I learned about Clojure script. Yeah, and when I learned about Clojure script, I'm not sure how. I don't know whether it was through another podcast or somewhere somehow. I started listening to the Clojure script podcast, and I learned about how Clojure script use the Google Clojure compiler. I was very it sounded very intriguing. I didn't know what all of this was. And I just continued listening to those podcasts because that was like a regular routine I had, like just taking walks and just spending time listening and updating, like seeing what is new and upcoming in like the different development communities. And eventually I went ahead to pick up getting Clojure.
Oh, nice.
And when I did so, it was not very easy, not very simple task as I tried to pick up. It wasn't so. That was when I tried to read the book. I was like midway through my term, and I got through several chapters before I gave up again. And it was only in 1 year ago that I managed to, during the COVID period, I managed to pick up I managed to complete the book, and I was also taking it time to brush up my developer skills and whatnot. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, one of my favorite sort of getting into Clojures from another person was he came from doing Java from his work, and he didn't quite understand I guess the functional concepts. So he was you know, doing like a soch and conjon to the like the data at hand, and sort of couldn't sort of understand initially that you had to do something to the return value of those operations to, you know, go somewhere from that. So it was like whatever, you know, you do to the data structure at hand, it just doesn't change.
Right. So this was when they
Yeah.
were trying to do functional programming in Java,
Mm.
or when?
That was when he was getting into Clojure.
Right, right.
Like I was, oh, that's so cute. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what do you have like aspects of Clojure that you enjoy? Is it like the next
Mm,
thing I have on my list? So I'm just going with it, but yeah.
um, I would say like why I I think compared to most, I wasn't too initially turned off by like the list syntax per se.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know why people liked
Mm-hmm.
it itself. But as I got more into it, um, like I realized that it became very um compared to other languages because of like that sort of like the 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 forms that Clojure provides. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes very um you don't have to remember so much syntax.
I
You don't
agree.
need to
Yeah.
keep
Mm-hmm.
searching
Mm-hmm.
like Python how to do
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's like really it's really concise, and it was, I guess there was a certain element of like novelty in like how um how you reasoned about code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really like because like the entire functional paradigm. And I think um at some point I drank the rich Shiki Kool-Aid and
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. For me, I appreciate sort of the aspect of you know, whatever library or, you know, whatever job you pick up, sort of the basic building blocks are all the same. Whereas if you are
Mm,
looking at a Java library, Java code, each sort of library or framework or decides to use like very different sort of things to like manipulate their objects. So you have to also like dig into what those choices are versus if it's
mm.
Clojure, it's just maps and vectors most of the time. So that's sort of what I like about it. Yeah.
Right, right. I think like with Clojure, I think there was a very nice post by Daniel Slutsky once where
Mm-hmm.
like he was talking about how um at first he thought Clojure was all about
Mm-hmm.
certain this and that, and then like it's his view slowly changed. And I think um it's very true for me as well. Like the more I explore Clojure, the more amazed I am at what um sometimes it's to the point where when I talk to my friends about Clojure,
Mm-hmm.
like it becomes somewhat of a meme whereby like I'll tell them, okay, Clojure can do this, Clojure can do that. Especially because like Clojure is hosted, so everyone's like just trying to port Clojure elsewhere and see where it can be used. Yeah, and I guess because the whole macro systems that
Mm-hmm.
like just, oh, this stuff is cool, like let's get it into Clojure and whatnot. Yeah, especially yeah, also there's the Clojure interop also, like, oh, let's have Java, I know, let's have Python in Clojure, let's have R in Clojure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was it the I don't know how to pronounce it, but was it the Clojure
Yeah,
project? Mm,
Clojures for R and
mm,
LibPython CLJ for
mm.
Python. Yeah.
Yeah. Very yeah, I still do not know how they get to work that out, so I'm really amazed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool that they exist. Yeah. And yeah, next topic I have. So you're in Singapore, and yeah, I must ask sort of the closure scene there, as far as you can observe.
Yeah. Honestly, like I think by the time I really got into Clojure,
Mm,
that was when like uh everyone was on quarantine,
mm, yep.
and so like there weren't really any Clojure meetups.
Mm,
Um but as far as like from exploring and like looking around, at least for a job perspective,
mm,
I'll say that the Clojure scene isn't exactly thriving, but in
mm,
Singapore. But I think that's also just the nature of Singapore
mm,
companies in general. I think we're quite. I think Singapore, especially at least in the tech scene,
mm,
we're quite risk adverse, or people
mm.
like just want to
Interesting.
stick to the conventional
Mm,
technologies. I mean, quite interestingly,
mm.
like if I weren't doing programming, um like my family members would keep used to keep telling me, oh, like programmers, like there's no programmers in Singapore and whatnot. And even
Interesting.
now, like they still
They're
have
not
this like
convinced.
type of mentality. Yeah,
Get a real job kind of
they're still no, not that. But there is
Mm,
that kind of mentality, like,
mm,
oh, like you're not going to get paid enough because you need to compete with like other countries and whatnot.
mm,
Yeah. But no, like there are programmers in Singapore. And, yeah. And um so as far as like job searching went, I understand that there's I only know of like 4 companies in Singapore that use Clojure.
that's
One's like
plenty, yeah.
yeah, one is like small medium enterprise SME
Mhm.
called Flyboard. Apparently they're using
Mhm.
Clojure CLR, in fact.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's one which I've been looking at and trying to like on the process of hopefully getting into. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
The other two,
Mhm.
one's a startup that
Mhm.
is based in Singapore, but there's also ties to America. And then uh there is when searching, like somehow I found like job applications on LinkedIn
Mhm.
for Apple in Singapore as well as Gojek in Singapore, and I I believe that like they did like explicitly said like like experience with culture like is good and whatnot. So
Mhm.
I think those were culture jobs, but that of course looking for
Mhm.
senior developers. So once I like that,
Mhm.
it was like, oh, maybe could I get this? And it's like, wait, I think it was not even 3 years. I think it was like 5 years of experience.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, like
Mhm.
the job search for as a fresh graduate
Mhm.
that is not in any of like the countries like US, EU,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, and whatnot have been quite difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, but going back to like the Clojure scene,
Mhm.
there used to be a sort of like Clojure meetup scene,
Mhm.
um, where I think like the company I was talking about,
Mhm.
like Flyboard SG is the main host of it,
Mhm.
but because of like this whole pandemic situation,
Mhm.
yeah, there hasn't been any meetups as of late.
Mhm.
And I think when I was talking to the admin person that used to host it. Like
Mm-hmm.
she felt there wasn't really a point to do an online meeting per se, because then there's this like you might as well watch the videos online, because like usually they have like speakers they'll come down, and it's not, I think like the online format is not very conducive for catching up either. Yeah.
I see. I guess it's I'm just being curious, but what language is it? Does it happen in? I in Singapore, I'm imagining there are lots of languages spoken. So I'm just
I would say for the most part, there is that base standard that everyone speaks English.
okay.
Um, there is, I mean, there's the push for everyone to be bilingual. Bilingual, is it? Okay. Yeah, like to have both, to be able to speak both like English and their mother tongue, but that's mainly for the most part Chinese. Yeah. Uh, so
Okay.
there are Malay speaking, and uh, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Thank you.
And I think the older generation they'll speak uh not so fluently in English, but Chinese is okay, and perhaps when their preferred medium would be like the dialects like Hokkien uh or Cantonese or whatnot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, I was like I had an episode on this channel in Japanese, but we were looking at the state of Clojure survey, and there was a question saying like how do you interact with other people about Clojure, kind of a question. And there was like
Right.
I think the last year there was like maybe like 20% or something of in-person events, which as you would expect,
Right.
this year it's basically gone, and so like, oh, yep, COVID came,
Mm.
yeah, interesting, yeah, and
On how do you right.
yeah, well, it's I guess yeah, everyone's sort of hoping that the in-person events do come back, but
Actually,
yeah.
when you brought that up, right, then that was a recent thing that I was thinking of, like the language people speak usually in that the Clojure community usually speaks. So like recently, because I'm also on like the Clojure Telegram group, but it's for the most part like the conversations on Clojure are on uh mostly Slack and Zulip, if like you're especially in like the data science community, the Cyclo community. Um, but yeah, most of the conversations, everything's like English speaking. So I kind of realized that on Telegram it's not very vibrant for the English speaking, but for I think the Russians and there's another Clojure group that I think they thrive on Telegram instead.
Okay, nice. Okay, so the Telegram's the app where messages were encrypted. I personally have not used it yet, so I'm just yeah.
Telegram's the one where um they use their own encryption protocol, and people question whether or not that is the safest.
I see. I yeah I recall like there's like a Taiwanese community that is also a Clojure community hosted on Telegram. So I guess it's more popular in Asian countries, maybe.
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 But yeah, I was trying to get at the fact that like I guess in there's not so much. Most of the mediums are in English, so if like you uh rather speak in like Russian or whatnot, I guess
I
mediums
see.
like Telegram would make work better.
I see. Awesome. And yeah, and yeah, we apparently there was some intersection of your school life and Clojure. So can you like touch on that? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think other than like my
Mm.
my constant trying to advocate for Clojure to like my friends,
Mm.
uh, I would say that like I think ever since I got into Clojure, I picked it up in like during like my summer break during like the isolation period.
Mhm.
Uh, like I wanted to just see where I could um use it and just like hone my skills in it. Um, this one wasn't really school life, but I created a small Telegram bot to
Nice.
be
Mhm.
able to sort of play like this game called like Angel and Mortal, which is like this idea where you like exchange messages with like your mortal and you don't know who is like your angel. So in the end it was really
Mhm.
just routing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But after that, like when school started,
Mhm.
um I had this like database project and I
Mhm.
was like, all right, I think I could use Clojure for it. So um it took a lot of effort, but I eventually formed some form of a group.
Mhm.
But it wasn't ideal because most groups had like 5 people and our team only had 3 or
I
sorts.
see.
Then I told myself that
Mhm.
all right, because the ironic part is that while it's a database project,
Mhm.
the focus and most of the marks were like it was like the CI/CD stuff, like
Mhm.
optimizing the deployment to the cloud.
Mhm.
Then I was like, all right, I really am not sure how Clojure would fit there, so I'm gonna work on that part. And
Mhm.
but because of that, um, I eventually realized that we should just use convention. Like it was a bit difficult to see how best to use Clojure there, so I eventually
Mhm.
went back to the normal tools and used like things like CloudFormation.
I see.
And so
Mhm.
meanwhile, my other 2 friends that joined me
Mhm.
were the ones that ended up doing Clojure script like for the front end and
Okay,
Clojure
well, that's
for
cool.
back end
Yeah.
respectively. When I was the one that really wanted, yeah,
That's it. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm not too sure how I
Mm,
feel about that whole experience because
mm,
with like my friend that was working with Clojure, like
mm,
I tried to convince him how like the referral driven development was very important,
mm.
but it like he felt that he wasn't gonna spend too much time on Clojure, so he didn't really want to set up things correctly.
I see.
Yeah. So he did Clojure, but
Mm,
I'm not too sure that
mm,
is the Clojure that people have. That's the
mm.
same Clojure that we use. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And I think more recently,
Mm,
um, we like I'm been doing I did a distributed systems
mhm,
module, and all right, the I wanted to write in Clojure, but that
mm,
was a bit hard to convince, and
mhm,
uh, but wait, oh yeah. Uh, most everyone's like writing using Golang.
mm,
But what I did do eventually was that and it really did make sense lah. So
mm.
if I'm not sure if you heard of Jepsen before.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
so
the
Jepsen is
project where it tries to break databases. That's what I gather.
yeah
Yeah. Yeah.
by Kale Kingsbury, I
Mm,
think. Yeah,
mm,
I'm not sure if I spelled
yeah.
pronounced it correctly,
Mm,
but yeah. So like I didn't really think about it, but another friend like had um mentioned but for his group that he wanted to use Jepsen for testing, which
mm,
he didn't subsequently because no one wanted to learn Clojure for their
mm.
group. But so I eventually used the Jepsen sort of like testing framework to test our distributed system.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So uh it was a bit of like tinkering around and like trying to understand how that whole system worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would that would be interesting. So like yeah, if I say I want to have a distributed system and I want to use Jepsen, how does it like look like? Do I add it
Um,
as a dependency, or is it like a CLI, or just some?
I
I
think
have not touched it, so yeah, just want to.
right. I think you can see Jepsen as like some form of black box testing
Mm,
where the the general means to do so is like to have some form of binary file, like binary of like your distributed system.
okay.
And what Jepsen, how Jepsen will work is like it's is it a T, I think it's a DNS network
Mm,
where you can do like you can launch like the Jepsen Docker of sorts,
mm,
and um you write some code to explain how like so usually it's a 5+1 node system where it's like
mm.
there's 5 worker nodes and one control node.
Mm.
So you
So
write
that's
some code,
the nodes belonging to the Jepsen domain.
yeah, to the Jepsen
Mm,
test system. Yeah.
mm,
Then the control node will based on like the Jepsen code will explain to the worker nodes how to install your binary, and
ooh, okay.
and I think usually how it's done is that um
So sorry,
those worker
the responsibility of the binary is to like interact with the distributed system. Is that
yeah.
okay?
So
Right.
I think from the sort
Mm,
of like uh examples that I've seen before, what
mm,
those binaries will allow you to do is like have some form of like
mm,
HTTP protocol. So that control node will, or after like um that whole installation, like the installation process and the
mm,
tear down, it is also
mm,
in your Jepsen script.
mm,
So it allows you to like start the test and like destroy the test and like quickly kind of thing.
mm.
So um the main part uh after you wait, let me think. So after you install it,
Mm,
so you what you want to do essentially is to get like your control node
mm,
to issue API calls to the respective worker nodes.
mm.
Like so I think usually it's like through HTTP usually, and then you explain to your in the Jepsen script, okay, so what is a write command, what is a read command, and whatnot,
Nice. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
and then so then they use like a sort of generated like a long sequence of
Mm,
uh called this sequence like I guess it's a lazy sequence,
mm,
generate, yeah. So it already just spam your different worker nodes with um
ooh.
commands of
Yeah.
what to do lah. So you
Mm,
can sort of um and so tell it to do like have a bunch of, like one write and then maybe like a ton of reads, and
mm.
then like and you can tell it roughly um how you can tell it how many requests per second and whatnot.
Mm.
And you also
Okay.
can introduce like the idea of like a nemesis to do things like partition the network
Mm.
or like to
Okay.
kill certain nodes, stop the processes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But so all of that's like specified in the script stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks. That's very educational. Yeah.
Hope I did a good job explaining it.
Yeah. Yeah. Until now, I was just Jepsen equaled a blog post testing a distributed sort of database product, and
Right, right. And I think
describing how yeah.
it's a pretty successful Clojure project on that
Mm,
sense, on that vein. Yeah. Like I think it's really like renowned as known as like the state of the art
mm,
testing for distributed systems.
yeah. Yeah. I remember like was it MongoDB? I guess revealed some bugs from it or something like that, and
Yeah.
Kafka, and I also remember what was like the um like the sort of the Kubernetes storage thing. Was it etcd or something like that?
Is it etcd?
Yeah, etcd. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of, yeah. I've known Jepsen only through blog posts, so yeah, that's okay. That's cool. Yeah. So like, so if you don't know how to set the Jepsen site up, you could, I guess pay a lot of money to Kyle Kingsbury and get blog posts kind of
I suppose, but at the same time, like actually his whole plan with like Jepsen's trying to make at least based on my reading was trying to make distributed systems like more understandable to people and more like like that whole testing process available, because like Jepsen is just available for you to use. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, he has like another project which is trying to it's like a whole framework that uses Jepsen also to and you try to build like distributed systems on that framework so that you can analyze it. Yeah. It's I think it's meant for like educational purposes. Yeah.
I see. Well, thank you. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, last item on the list I prepared before this is sort of Clojurists Together sort of, I guess, advertisement, but yeah. So I recently was apparently elected as a board member, and yeah, just want to bring it up as a topic to discuss whatever. But are you like a current member?
No,
Okay.
I'm aware of it, but it's not the mandatory.
Well, now we have a choice to become one. I guess I'll stop it there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I just have one idea where the funds that it collects could be directed to some outreach kind of an activity, and yeah, do you see that being potentially helpful in like your
Sorry,
day-to-day
what are you saying?
outreach? So like more specifically sort of beginner friendly intros, maybe documentation videos, maybe workshops online or in person, but if that becomes a thing again. But yeah.
I think that's always a good thing, like trying to get more newcomers on board. I think there's some that somewhat I recall reading out that one of there's one whole initiative to do like Clojure workshops.
I think was
I
it
forgot what's the term.
Clojure Bridge?
Maybe? Yeah, I think Clojure Bridge. Yeah, I think like a lot of it has been done. I think in India. Yeah, so I know there was that was a thing. And and I recall like Clojurists Together also was getting what's his name? The guy that does Clojure blog posts. Suddenly forgot.
Oh, Practically. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Practically. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That posted out.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. That is quite nice. Yeah, this is quite nice. Yeah, I really like it.
I think there was so I recall one of the suggestions for Clojurists Together was on like, or maybe also on the Google form, was whether or not maybe they should have more initiatives where to involve beginners to work on projects alongside like experienced members. Yeah, I think that would have been like pretty helpful if I knew about it. Like then it would have provided me an opportunity to pick up Clojure.
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll use this as evidence to convince my agenda. But yeah.
But I think at the same time, I think the issue with that is also like that need for a dedicated time period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And yeah,
because
sort of my other, I think like it's necessary to have support for the other end, as in like the number of available Clojure employments is like a sort of a very big factor of motivating people to start Clojure, I think.
I think so. Yeah, like a lot. Whenever I try to advocate for Clojure, I'll be like, yeah, Clojure is
What's
great.
the
You should
job
learn it.
market? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'll be like, you should learn it. It'll change the way you think and program, and it'll be very useful. Like, very good on that front. But then I'm like, all right, but in terms of like most practical thing to do as of now, maybe you might want to, like, unfortunately, Clojure might not be the most practical thing. At
Yeah.
least in Singapore, yeah.
Mm. And yeah, I have this sense where, you know, once you have sufficient experience, or yeah, definitely just experience, but that you start matching, I guess, recruiters' criteria, and then you suddenly get flood of yeah, you do Clojure, come apply, kind of a LinkedIn cold mails. But yeah, yeah, I feel like so like once you cross a certain threshold, I feel like there's like lots of demand, but yeah, and it might be like they tend to be tend to be like startups, and they want to have they already have expectations of like the, you know, job, and they must have like this amount of experience, and
Right.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
definitely
what
see
I've
the
heard
gap there.
also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That generally with Clojure, it seems like there isn't like it seems like there
Mm-hmm.
isn't a strong job market. But then when you're inside the community, it once you if you change job, like you can easily find another Clojure job not too
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
long later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that network and yeah experience is, yeah, something I am thinking. There's yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's like even, you know, outside of Clojure, it's like I don't know, getting a, you know, entry level jobs, like even if it's entry level job, it typically is like you need to have job experience to get an entry level
Oh
job.
yeah, that joke where it's like circular.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need job experience, but to
Yeah.
get job experience, you need job.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it like the meme where the guy's throwing a chair at the end? Kind of. Yeah. 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 All right. Well, yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Yeah, I think I covered all the things I did prepare. So, yeah.
Um,
Do you want to like
well,
shout out to the world, like you're available to hire or something like that? Or...
I think I've tried doing that already, like in the various forums I Clojure. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I don't know.
Um,
In the rare case that, yeah, the audience of my channel doesn't has not reached that weird corner of the world yet, then it might work.
maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I guess I'm available for hire.
Mhm.
I think like in most of the Clojure communities, like my name is like Zack Teo,
Mhm.
Zackto.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think I posted on LinkedIn, like
Mhm.
that I'm searching. I posted on. I've been looking at like the Reddit, um,
Mhm.
like who's hiring posts,
Mhm.
and also I think I tried posting on like there's some Clojure forum,
Mhm.
as well as like just searching on like Slack and Zoolip also.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I really am hoping, yeah, good things happen to you. So, yeah, yeah. I'll broadcast with my limited Twitter audience as well. So, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for your time, and yeah, especially I really enjoyed sort of the walkthrough of Jepsen. It was very educational for me. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, and it's a Sunday, so I hope you have a nice day.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Catch you later. Well, if we
Yep.
do, yeah, definitely someday. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Hopefully by then I'll have a lot of Clojure experience.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.